Hello and welcome. My name is Al Barrows, and this is UFO Disclosure, the podcast that's meant to show an average person's reaction to all the UFO, UAP news from everywhere and anywhere. Today, I'd like to relate something that I saw on popular UFO stories in 5 minutes. It involves a UFO flyover of Washington, D.C., that is one of the most significant and well documented incidents in UFO history. For 2 consecutive weekends in July, unidentified flying objects were detected on radar and visually confirmed by multiple credible witnesses, leading to direct intervention from President Truman. The first wave of sightings began just before midnight on Saturday, July the 19th, 1952. Air traffic controller Edwin Nugent at Washington National Airport, now Ronald Reagan Washington National Airport, noticed 7 slow-moving targets on his radar scope, flying over restricted airspace. These were unlike any known aircraft, displaying incredible speeds and erratic movements. Simultaneously, at Andrews Air Force Base, radar operators also picked up the strange blips. Visual confirmation soon followed when pilots and commercial airliners, including Captain S.C. Pearman of Capital Airlines Flight 610, reported seeing 8 bright objects moving at impossible speeds. Pearman described them as bright yellow-white and flickering like burning embers. Another pilot, Captain Casey Pearman, confirmed seeing 6 bright lights flying in formation. The radar targets moved at estimated speeds ranging from 100 miles per hour to over 7,000 miles per hour, with instantaneous accelerations that defied conventional physics. They would hover, then dart away, sometimes disappearing and reappearing at different locations on the scope. Air Force scrambled F-94 jet interceptors from Newcastle, Delaware. But by the time they arrived, the objects had vanished, only to reappear once the jets had to refuel. 1 week later, on Saturday, July the 26th, 1952, the UFOs returned, making an even bolder appearance. This time, numerous sightings were made over the White House, the U.S. Capitol, and the Pentagon. The objects were again detected by multiple radar units at Washington National Airport and Andrews Air Force Base. Eyewitnesses, including military personnel and civilians, described bright, disc-shaped objects hovering silently, some emitting a reddish-orange glow. Sergeant Charles Plunk of the Air Force and Master Sergeant John Ard were among those at Andrews Air Force Base who visually confirmed the objects. Ard stated they looked like big orange-colored balls flying very slowly. Once again, Air Force F-94s were scrambled. As Lieutenant William Patterson and First Lieutenant Donald Joyer approached the object, the UFO seemed to surround their aircraft, making their pursuit impossible. Patterson later reported, quote, "I tried to make contact with them. I tried to chase them, but I couldn't. They were flying so erratically that I couldn't get a beat on them," end quote. He described them as circular, about 100 feet in diameter, giving off a reddish glow. The government and the military responded in the following manner. The widespread radar and visual sightings, coupled with the proximity to the U.S. Capitol and the president, created a national sensation. President Truman personally contacted his Air Force aides for explanations. The Air Force, under immense public pressure, held a press conference on July 29, 1952, led by Major General Sanford, Director of Intelligence for the Air Force, and Captain Edward J. Ruppelt, head of Project Blue Book, the official Air Force study of UFOs. General Sanford attributed the radar contact to a temperature inversion, a feather phenomenon where a layer of warm air traps cooler air below it, causing radar signals to bend and produce false returns. He suggested the visual sightings were either misidentifications of stars, meteors, or an illusion caused by the radars being fooled. However, This explanation was met with understandable skepticism. Radar experts pointed out that temperature inversions typically produce diffuse, fuzzy returns, not the sharp, distinct targets observed. Moreover, the object's intelligent evasive maneuvers and simultaneous visual confirmations by experienced pilots and ground personnel made the temperature inversion theory difficult to fully accept. As a result of the government's evasive explanation, the UFO flyover of Washington, D.C. became a cornerstone of UFO lore. The Washington, D.C. UFO incident highlighted the limitations of the official explanations and raised questions about transparency regarding government knowledge of unexplained aerial phenomenon, or UAP. The incident also played a significant role in increasing public awareness and interest in UFOs, solidifying the idea that something truly inexplicable had occurred in the nation's capital. And while the Air Force officially closed the case, many still believe that the Capitol close encounters of 1952 represented genuine unexplained aerial phenomenon. So the UFO flyover of Washington, D.C. made front page headlines in newspapers back in 1952. Yet the government and military never provided an adequate explanation. I think that the government and military did take it very seriously, but downplayed it publicly to hide or mask the limitations of their Cold War technology. Similar to what's going on now, in my opinion. My name is Al Barrows. This has been UFO Disclosure. Please remember to like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.